Or put them on when you're going to read. I don't know. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live stream, our new episode, My President Needs Me. And this one is based off of Margaret Laird's book, Government is Self-Government. So that's available at the IMS in the store for those of you who want to. If you don't have it yet, it is excellent. So anyways, to set this up, many years ago, Margaret Laird's response to an attempt to introduce her to my friend, this was to Betty, and as an attempt to introduce her to a friend of hers, she said, "Not now, my president needs me." And on the television, President Reagan had just been the target of a gunshot. Those words come back to Betty every time crisis or chaos dominates public attention. And in her book, Government is Self-Government, Mrs. Laird wrote, "Christ is the truth, the reality of all that is or seems to be, lived consciously as one's own divineness, and with no name other than one's own." Also, quote, "The Christ is no past event, but an ever-present now. The Christ is not a savior or a healer or a miracle worker, but the discernment of spiritual facts unfolding from the withinness of each individual. The time is not far distant when our successors will look back with wonder at the materialistic superstition of the times we live in. For materialism is nothing better than superstition on the same level as a belief in witches and devils. Now, I'm reminded each time a crisis occurs to consider my own self-responsibility to live consciously self-aware, to intentionally acknowledge the spiritual facts present. I'm reminded of my grandmother's statement when she was a child. The answer is already present, so listen closely. Hi, Betty. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Anything else you want to add to that lovely introduction?
I think you did very well.
All right, nothing more to add. So my president needs me. Anything you want to say about this to set this up differently than what we've just done?
Yeah, well, it's interesting to me that watching television, and the occasion was when somebody took a shot at Reagan. They didn't hit him, but he was attacked anyway.
Right.
And Margaret didn't view that as something happening to somebody out there. None of her business. To her, that was her world occurring. And right then she had to be present to that occurrence. Too often, I think everything that goes on in our lives, almost everything, we view it as something going on over there. And we don't even pay attention to the being that we're being that has what they call over there occurring.
Mm-hmm.
We are the world we walk through. And if I'm walking through having something occur, it's my life I'm dealing with, not some happening other than my own being.
Right.
You know, we don't deal with everything going on in our experience as our responsibility, as occurring, of course, because I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Without me, there wouldn't be that going on in my world. So I am the world I walk through. And I need to pay attention from that perspective. I can't ignore it. In other words, I want to be present with all of my living.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, very good. And if anyone has a question or a comment, just put those in the comments, and those will come to us during the live, and we'll answer or address any of those. But go ahead and put them in the comments even when we're not live. if on YouTube, those will come through and we'll be able to also respond. So, any rate, thank you for being here and participate if you have any question. Okay. So in Government is Self-Government, on page 15, Margaret Laird wrote, all experience is self-sensing.
Yep. You know, the thing about that that's interesting to me is self-sensing means there's always what's going on for you is an original.
Yeah.
It's not the same as what would go on for anybody else around, if there is anybody else around.
Right.
What goes on for me is original to my presence. I'm generating it out of the being that I am. And the living of that fact is an enriching experience of expanding my own self-awareness to include the world I'm walking through.
Right.
Because half the time I'm not paying attention. And here's my living of myself going on, and I'm not paying attention. Wake up, Betty.
Right. Right. Okay. And what we call a problem is the ever-present demand for the self-strengthening of our divinity.
Yeah.
This is, go ahead.
Go ahead.
This is, well, what I look at this is I look at it and I think, okay, so this is a problem is the ever-present demand for me, or, you know, to acknowledge the divinity, that to build the muscle to see there is only one thing going on.
Yeah, and even closer to home than that is, what am I saying to myself here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's going on? Huh. I didn't know I was asking that question.
Right.
Because it is all that close.
Okay.
I am the world I walk through.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, in Science and Health on page 62, starting on line 29, Margaret Laird wrote, Mary Baker Eddy wrote, our false views of life hide eternal harmony and produce the ills of which we complain.
Yeah, it's our false views of life.
Yes.
So when something occurs and it upsets me or concerns me or whatever, or feel threatened or I don't like it or I do like it or any of that, have a reaction to it. Anytime that occurs, it's the opportunity for me to say, oh, why am I saying that to myself right now?
Right.
And from that perspective is the only possibility you have for making a difference in your living.
Right. Okay.
When I ask that question, it's the first time I've consciously acknowledged that all the goings on in my world are up to me. It's not just by some dumb chance that something occurs.
Right.
My being demands whatever goes on in my life.
Right. It's the only view you could have.
Yeah. Nothing else could occur while I'm in this particular moment.
Right. So it's all a process of self-discovery. It's
That's
all
right.
me discovering my world and the fullness of that which I am. Does that make sense?
Yep. And it is that. And it's always appropriate. It's not by happenstance. Who you're being demands that you have whatever's coming up, come up.
Right. Okay. Yep. No argument until what comes up is something I don't like.
And that little sentence that I see on the screen under you, all experience is self-sensing.
Yes.
What else is there?
Right.
If there's one infinite mind ever present, then all experience is self-sensing.
Right.
Yep.
Yep. The higher nature of man is not governed by the lower. If it were, the order of wisdom would be reversed. And that's also from Science and Health, page 62, line 22.
Yep.
So it's the higher nature of man is governed by divinity.
That's right.
Consciousness.
Reality.
Reality.
Yep.
Yeah.
Reality present.
Okay. All right. And then in your book on page 197, Mind is the Athlete, you wrote, the window of possibility is always present.
Yeah. And that's good to know, because sometimes we sit around waiting for something else to come along and say, now that's the answer.
Right.
It's ever present. It's always present.
Right.
It's not going to happen in 5 minutes. It's happening right now.
Right.
Right now. Right now.
Yeah. It's our belief that there's a continuity, that there's a past and there's a future and then there's a now. And really all there is right now, right now, right now.
You can't do anything tomorrow right now. You can't do anything about yesterday right now.
Right.
You can just be present or not.
Right.
And live yourself the way you're seeing yourself.
So if I'm present right now, the window of possibility is wide open.
That's right.
But if I'm in judgment attached to something, living in the past, as if I was in the present, then it doesn't seem like possibility is very present.
That's right. Because it, of course, isn't. It's already gone. If you're living in the past, it's all over.
Right. Driving from the rear view mirror. Right. Okay. That makes sense. All right. So a glimpse of something. What?
If you're driving with a rear view mirror, you're ending up in the ditch.
Right. Right. You have no idea where you're going because you're looking at the past. All right. A glimpse of something unknown and unthought until that moment has a brand new what occur. Is that creating from the just purely from the unknown? It's like something shows up that's unknown and you didn't even know you didn't know. It was just like not even there. And unthought until that moment has a brand new what? And it's just a glimpse, like an intuition, like what? What do you mean by glimpse? What's meant by glimpse?
A glimpse of something unknown and unthought until that moment. That's true.
Yeah.
Each moment is brand new, unless I'm living in the past.
Right.
If I'm living in the past, there's no hope anyway.
Right.
Already all over.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So a glimpse of something unknown and unthought until that moment has a brand new what?
It never occurred before that moment.
Right. Mom, you've got something going on with your computer that's mucking with your mic. You're moving stuff around. Don't move it wherever you're moving it.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
You had me move where I put the computer, so now I can't maneuver.
Okay. It's the way it goes. It's your reality showing up.
Yes.
All right. In Government is Self-Government on page 21, Margaret Laird wrote, the man of the hour is he who takes no thought for himself as the kind of person he has been led to think he is.
Yep. Think about that just for a moment.
Okay.
Because we don't think of ourselves as the kind of person that we've been led to think that we are. That person that we've been led to think that we are doesn't exist.
Right.
What exists is being.
Right.
And nobody else knows except for themselves what that being is all about.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm busy trying to fulfill on something somebody else has already decided is true for me.
Right.
And I'm living in the past with no touch with reality.
Okay. Okay. And the hope for world peace evolves from the fact that individual conscious identity is the one spirit that includes all identities.
That's right. You know, if I'm fulfilled with self-discovery, with recognizing what's present when I show up.
Yeah.
I'm not interfering with anyone else. I have no thought really to share with anybody about them because I have no way to know what would be good for them, what
Right.
would be right for them. But when I recognize that my living is all about myself discovering with a capital S on the self, my divine being, the reality that is true for me. When I'm living with that, I'm not busy fussing with anything else
Right.
out there somewhere that I think I have to do something about,
Right.
whether it's children or husbands or jobs or whatever. If I've got it out there, I need to leave it alone
Right.
because
Okay.
nothing out there can possibly fulfill anything for me.
No, that which sits in a chair doesn't think.
Nothing that sits in a chair can think.
Right. So put it over in the chair in the corner and go on with your business.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
And that also gives you the realization that what you've been thinking about isn't present anyway.
Right.
Why you can put it in the chair and not miss anything.
Right. Well, thinking about is like being in the past, kind of going around about something, but you're not, but it takes you out of being here right now.
Yeah, aboutness has nothing to do with presence.
Right. Yeah, I like
Aboutness is
that.
skirting around the border.
Yeah. 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 That's good. Aboutness has nothing to do with presence. That's
Yeah.
good. Okay. And in Science and Health on page 516, starting on line 6, Mary Baker Eddy wrote, when we subordinate the false testimony of the corporeal senses to the facts of science, we shall see this true likeness and reflection everywhere.
Yep.
Right. So acknowledge the facts of being, the
Right.
one reality present.
Yep. And Mrs. Eddy uses that phrase when we subordinate the false testimony of the senses, we don't ever subordinate them. If you can leave them totally alone, they subordinate themselves.
Mhm.
If you're busy subordinating, you're not paying attention to what's present.
No, you're dealing with something about something else.
That's right.
Got it.
So you
Yeah.
have to translate those words that Mrs. Eddy found so helpful back 100 years ago into today's language, which
Right.
is be here now.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. You, being spiritual, are the reflection of God. Another quote from Mary Baker Eddy.
Yep.
And in your book, Mind is the Athlete, on page 198, you wrote, experiencing now fully accesses self-discovery.
Yep.
So to the degree that you can stay present right now, right now, right now, right now, you're fully accessing self-discovery.
Yeah. And the thing about that is we play that game of right now, right now, right now, thinking we're paying attention to everything that's going on all over the place. Right now is right here. There isn't any out there.
Right.
And it's fiction to play with out there as if you could do something somewhere other than right here.
Right.
If I'm being present, I'm right here.
Right.
And that's the only time I'm effective.
Right.
Effective,
well, yeah. And the thing that came up for me is when you're present right now, or and you're really present, there are things, you know, what's the statement, if you want to change the world, that did it, like change the world.
Yep.
Because it realigns. And so I'm present to this whole thing of when you're present, anything's possible.
Everything's possible.
Right, everything, but seemingly something that occurs in one domain can have an impact in a completely unrelated, separate domain.
The truth of the matter is, Kim, there is no separate
I
domain.
know. So it just seems that way.
Well, I'd have to say maybe so, maybe not.
Okay. All right. I'm not expressing it well, I suppose. All right. The capacity to live other than yourself is never present. Unless you're being yourself, you can't be present.
Right.
So you've got to be yourself.
Yeah, you can't live other than yourself anyway. There's
Right.
nothing present.
Right.
Other than means out there somewhere. There is no other than. So you can't kid yourself. If you're present, your capacity is present with you.
Right. Because you take yourself with you wherever you go.
That's right. Everywhere you go, actually.
And wherever, everywhere and wherever you go.
Okay.
All right. All right. In Government is Self-Government on page 51, Margaret Laird wrote, "Love is the knowledge that all of my living is self-living."
Yeah. And that's important because what we've been talking about is the ever-present allness of individual being.
Right.
You know, there is nothing over there. What I live is my Kim. Kim, if there is one over there, has no idea what my Kim is all about.
Right.
She's busy living her Kim
Yep.
if she's there.
Right.
And as
Right.
far as I'm concerned, of course, my Kim is right here.
Right. Yeah.
And I get to live it my way.
Yep. Cool. When I'm able to live myself divinely, mindfully, consciously being the love that is principle, I shall see that all my living is good living, right living, love living.
Yep.
Very good. And so there really isn't anything to take issue with.
Well, I'm not taking issue if I don't have any out there.
Right. Because anytime you're doing any of that, you got something going on that's
Outside of your
external.
own being.
That's right. That's
Yep.
right. Okay. And in Science and Health, Mary Baker Eddy said it this way on page 90, line 24, "The admission to oneself that man is God's own likeness sets man free to master the infinite idea."
Mm-hmm.
What does she mean by infinite idea?
Well, idea is infinite. There's no limit, no cutoff point.
Mm-hmm.
It's a free agent. It's not ever my idea or your idea. It is idea presencing.
Right.
And on we go.
Okay.
Freedom.
Yeah. Okay. This conviction shuts the door on death and opens it wide towards immortality. So is death a concept then?
When I'm able to live myself divinely, well, I suppose it's a perception.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Living myself divinely would be a perception,
Okay.
a recognition of a fact.
Right.
And of course, for each one that's individually lived, there's no formula for what it should look like
Right.
or how it should be experienced.
Right. But we're starting with the admission to oneself that man is God's own likeness sets man free to master the infinite idea.
Yep.
This conviction shuts the door on death and opens it wide towards immortality.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to.
Well, the common perception is that death is an ending.
Right.
Well, immortality has no ending.
Right. So if you let go of the concept of death being an end, and rather than say a transition.
Death is a point of view.
Oh, okay.
It's just a point of view on reality.
Okay. All right. I don't know what else to ask about that, but I know I've got a question. I just don't know how to phrase it. All right. So we'll just move on. On Mind is the Idea, or Mind is the Athlete, on page 199, you wrote, dependency on other than one's own being puts being at risk since it divides your world. How could being ever be at risk?
Your experience of being is at risk.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Being, of course, is never at risk. You're
Right.
right.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I was thinking. So it puts your experience of being at risk
Yeah.
since it divides your world.
Yeah.
Because then you're living with two.
Yeah. And as if there was anything external to you being.
Right. Got it.
Being itself, being is all there is.
Right. Right.
So living it that way makes me self-responsible.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then the last quote we've got is from your book. The meanings you and I assign to daily events and circumstances determine our daily experience of living. It's all about what we make things mean.
Yeah, it's all about the human factor in there.
Right.
Human beings look and deal with what they have something mean.
Right.
If they're not aware that reality present has this occurring.
Yeah.
So you leave your personal view aside.
Yeah.
And allow today to be today.
Right.
Not your interpretation from the past.
Right. Okay. Well, very good. Is there anything you want to say to conclude our inquiry for this evening?
Yeah, I go back to the title that I used for today's talk. My world needs me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all it's got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a self-responsibility in my daily living that makes a difference in my experience of living.
Right. Yeah, very good. All right. With there being no other questions or anything, if this was valuable, give us a thumbs up or a heart. And if you're on our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, help us spread the word. And other than that, we will see you next week on at 5 p.m.
Tuesday.
Pacific and 7 p.m. Central. So until then, be the world you walk through. All right.
I'll do that.
Okay. Thanks.